doing this whole project, gasoline froze during that period of time. That's how cold it was some days.
And you get up at 4 and start the car,
and then
back
go
in the
in
house and take a shower and get dressed.
It was insane.
And then you'd go chip your windshield off.
It was insane.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome The Revolution.
When he wrote Beautiful Ones, we were in LA, and I remember going, you're so totally in tune right now with your creativity. You are so on a roll. I just remember hearing that song and thinking to myself, God, you're so good. You are so good at this.
Every song he writes, he's dealing from an emotional core.
His professionalism is unwavering. His love of his music is unwavering.
To watch a human being be that creative and that visionary was a true gift to get to see that. So I feel very fortunate.
Prince wrote all this incredible music, and I was determined to see that it was going to be used in the context of a pretty good story.
You never sleep in this house! You're always sneaking around! You're a goddamn sinner! Shut up!
Clarence Williams especially, the minute he came onto the set, created a kind of professionalism that the non-actors, the musicians, hadn't seen before.
You're crazy!
Get up there!
Immediately, you can see how people just were on the set to watch Clarence work. He's detail-oriented, so it's about the clothing, it's about his hair, it's about the gun in his hand, it's about everything has to add up for him. So Prince really reacted to Clarence, and, Clarence pretty much nailed it. In the scene where Prince coming in, seeing his father playing piano, and he asks his son,
"You're gonna get married?"
I don't know.
Get married.
Now that was a moment that Prince had discussed with me, that had happened to him when he was a kid. And so when I heard that, we used it and put that into the picture and created that moment.
I suppose the biggest question left unanswered about Purple Rain was just how true to biography the movie really was.
I can say that a lot of it dealt with stuff that had happened or almost happened in his life.
So it's that kind of professionalism of Clarence wanting to hook into that and Prince wanting to hook into that, and then all of us getting involved in creating that scene.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome The Time.
I don't want to see you no more. Gentlemen, are we ready? Y'all ready to do this one?
I understood that in Minneapolis there was this friction between bands, and sure enough, right away, you had Prince and the Revolution and you had Time.
Morris, Too Hot Day. Morris Day. What people don't know about Morris is one of the best drummers that you could ever see, and one of the funniest cats of all time, just naturally.
Back when we first started, Prince would stand on the side of the stage, he'd crack up, he'd love it. Then he realized, oh man, I gotta go on stage now.
I gotta follow
these
that.
guys,
They're comedians anyway, so it got transferred to film. I see that every day, when I'm with them. That's how they are.
You can tell with certain actors how much they can telegraph without saying a word, and I think Jerome had the most talent for that. Even though he didn't have as many lines, but he could telegraph volumes.
JB. Well, JB happens to be my brother. Another funny guy, just naturally. When you put him and Morris Day on the same stage, it's fire. It's hot. It's hot.
The most interesting thing about Purple Rain to me was that the timeliness of it. It actually captured a music revolution as it was happening.
Basically, we were doing Prince as things really were. the time were really part of his life, and the Revolution were his band.
The whole idea of, here's the club, we got 3 slots and 4 bands. Somebody ain't making it. That is very true.
There was a little bit of a rivalry there in real life.
That whole Minneapolis struggle of who's the funkiest, who's the baddest.
We would all battle one another for the same work. So, you know, you go out one week and you get your butt tore up, and then you have to go rehearse and come back the next week and try to make amends.
That's the way it was. Back then, Minneapolis was very competitive.
I got 3 acts. I don't need 4. That means one of y'all have got to go. I mean, what would you do in my position?
I was just at a point in the picture where I realized that I needed to do a montage, and I needed a song for that. I called Prince up and I said, I need a new song. And I said, this is about your father, about your relationship with your father and your mother. It's about loss, redemption, salvation. It's about the themes that we're talking about in this picture. He said, okay. And the next morning, I get a phone call from him. And he goes, okay, I got 2 songs for you.
Dig, if you will, the picture of you and I engaged in a kiss.
There's not too many artists you could say, well, look, we really need a first single, Prince. We need it to be a big hit in both urban and pop radio. And all these other songs in the movie work great, but they're not a great first single. He says, okay. And then he gives us Doves Cry.
So then Prince calls me and says, you like the song? And I go, yeah. And he goes, will you back me, because now they're telling me I have to add more instruments and, you know, I have to essentially make it a real song. And I'm going, no, I'll back you. This is the song. So that's the song that you hear is the one he developed and created. That's how When Doves Cry got made.
Doves Cry turned out to be #1 in every chart. We had it out 10 weeks before the movie, so we had this #1 record for a long time before the film came out.
When Doves Cry, the sadness of it, I think it's a testament to his writing for a particular scene in advance and visualizing the whole concept.
The thing that kind of propelled everyone else around him to make that combination of the film and the record and the tour kind of all at the same time is that the songs were so good.
Well, for me personally, I really like Darling Nikki, I think, out of all the performance numbers. Prince is all over the board on that one, dancing around, and it's a great performance.
Knew a girl named Nikki, I guess you could say she was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby, masturbating with a magazine.
It's supposed to make Apollonia upset and cry, and I said, is it okay that it's a Darling Nikki? He says, what do you want to be, Darling Apollonia?
Sometimes when he's alone, especially, he can just reach these places that are just unbelievable with his screaming. He's really an impressive screamer.
There's only a few people that can scream like that.
What was talking about?
Really?
The interesting thing about meeting Prince was I recognized in him a tremendous vulnerability. And I realized that combination of artistry and vulnerability was exactly an ingredient that I could use and bring something meaningful to the screen.
The scene where he's in the basement and he's going through...
He finds his father's
music. And the look on his face. I've only seen that look on his face a couple times, and it's a powerful moment when you see a tear well up in his eyes.
It was very important to him to get whatever he wanted to tell of that story across to people and to connect all those parts into into him to show, you know, and I think he did a good job. It did show.
Yeah, he did.